Okay, guys, I'm going to talk a little bit about the supposed Dallas McCarver cycle that he got from Chad Nicholls. Chad Nicholls is, of course, one of the top bodybuilding gurus in the world of bodybuilding. He's worked with a lot of the top bodybuilders for a long time, and supposedly he's had some trouble with some of his guys in terms of their health and things like that. Now, I don't know if that's his fault. That's just a rumor. Dave Palumbo seems to think that this cycle is complete BS and that Chad Nicholls would not tell anybody to use this much gear. Now, who knows if that's true or not? Chad Nicholls might not be honest with a lot of people. And then again, this might be complete bunk. This might be thought up by some guy. He just put it out on the internet sitting in his basement. Like I am. But basically they're calling this the death cycle. Supposedly this was the cycle he was on when he died. A lot of people, there are rumors running around about insulin mistiming, that kind of thing, and he was using a boatload of insulin. You would have to probably drink your carbohydrates, is my understanding, to just keep up with this much insulin going in. And if you fuck that up, you end up on the ground. And I don't have any experience with insulin. Never really wanted to even try insulin. I don't have any reason to. I don't know anybody that's used insulin, but it is out there. There are guys that use it, probably in every big city in every medium-sized city in the country. So it's actually probably not as uncommon as you might think. But pro bodybuilders use a shit ton of insulin. They use a shit ton of growth. Dallas was using, supposedly, well, according to this, and like I said, this might be all just bullshit, 22 IUs a day. Ronnie Coleman was rumored to use 12. So this is 10 more IUs a day than even the great Ronnie Coleman used. So this is a lot of GH. This is a more is better thing. These guys, subscribing to that belief and, pushing the envelope even farther. Like I said, ton of insulin, ton of IGF1, 10 to 15 milligrams a day on training days. So you got to assume he was training almost every day, so he's taking a lot of IGF1. It's quite expensive. I've priced out growth hormone. You're getting a little older, you want to see, you're looking into benefits of it. And it is quite expensive. IGF1 on top of that, I don't know if Dallas was well off or what, but, well, how do these guys pay for any of this stuff, I guess, but, it is what it is. Sponsors, whatever, rich relatives, who the hell knows, but Anapolon, Anadrol, he's taking up to 400 milligrams a day. That is a shit ton of Anadrol. Anybody that's tried Anadrol can tell you that shit's pretty harsh. Some guys tolerate it very well. But that is still a lot of Anadrol. That alone will make your liver just scream. Again, it all boils down to tolerance, your genetics to tolerate these drugs, in my opinion. Not necessarily your physical genetics in terms of muscle tie-ins, bellies, etc., bone structure, etc. But your ability a lot of times to handle these drugs at that level. EPO, of course, Lance Armstrong, that was a drug Lance Armstrong was taking, one of the drugs, to build red blood cells. It causes your bone marrow to spit out more red blood cells, and it's good for lots of different things. More oxygen. I could probably train harder on it and probably experience more muscle growth. Halotestin. Interesting stuff, Halotestin. Very powerful oral. Makes you very, very hard, very strong, very angry. Gives you hardens the muscles. I've kind of been around Halo, and it certainly gives you a hard look. Makes you aggressive. Very harsh stuff, though. 40 milligrams a day is not an unheard of dose for some people. You can probably go to the larger gyms anywhere and find a guy that's using 40 milligrams of Halo. But you only want to stay on that stuff for 2-3 weeks. He was doing 8 weeks on, 8 weeks off, so that's pretty harsh. For Halo. Masteron, 100 milligrams a day, that doesn't seem like a very high dose for, a pro bodybuilder. I can see that. T3, that's like a thyroid type drug medication, and using that for obvious reasons, cutting fat, whatever. NPP, quick-acting Nandrolone, quick-acting Deca, if you want to call it that. 1,000 milligrams a week. That doesn't seem like a very high dose for a professional bodybuilder. I've been around guys who used, 600-700 milligrams a week. Primobolan, 1,000 milligrams a week. If that's real Primobolan, who knows? It's very hard to get. Dave brought that point up. You can go on any, on the internet to any chat room about steroids, and they'll tell you, that you're probably getting fake Primo most of the time. So he's getting real Primo. That's a pretty good dose. Winstrol tabs, 100 milligrams a day. Winstrol is used a lot of time for cutting for contests. My understanding, it's pretty, it's a pretty safe drug. Really, one of the only main side effects of it is it causes balding in a lot of people. DHT. So, 100 milligrams a day, probably not a real high dose in my opinion for a professional bodybuilder. Nolvadex, 40 milligrams a day. I don't even know if that's going to do anything with all the tests he was taking. Arimidex, 1 milligram a day. I don't know. That, who knows, man? All the stuff he was taking, if that even matters. But a lot of people have great luck with it. It does reduce estrogen pretty well. It's not like letrozole or anything, but on this much test, you'd think he would be using letro because, man, I don't know, the conversion must just be insane. But then again, I mean, you're running some other things that kind of help with estrogen too. So it's out of my area of expertise, but I'm not going to speculate, I guess, on that. Tren, this is where it gets pretty fucking crazy. 1,000 milligrams of long-acting Tren. I don't know if that's Tren E they're talking about or Tren Hex, but regardless, that is a shit ton of Tren. Most guys use the Tren Ace, which he was taking 1,400 milligrams of per week. Tren Ace is in and out real fast, so you can control side effects, etc. That's 2.5 grams of Tren almost per week. That would kill a fucking elephant. I don't even know how you would survive just doing that. He must have been constantly sweating. He must have been out of breath constantly. I mean, wow, that's just insane. And I don't hear words to even describe that much Tren. Anyway, but like I said, this might all be speculation, bunk, bullshit. So there are people that, most people probably believe that it's complete horseshit. Test E, 800 milligrams a week. That's not a very high dose for a pro bodybuilder, but you're adding test suspension. The average dose 50 to 100 milligrams. Every other day. Some guys just use it before a workout. That's a lot of test suspension, and that shit really, really, really hurts the injection site. And if you put that in your quads, man, you wouldn't even be able to walk. So, I mean, wherever you put it, it sucks. Sustanon, which is a blend of 4 testosterones. Quick acting, medium to quick acting, medium to long acting, and I think a long acting. So, another, 1.2 grams of that. So he's taking a shit ton, like, I don't know, what is it? Over 3 grams of test per week, which, I don't know, that's probably not incredibly high for a pro bodybuilder. Boldenone EQ, 1,200 milligrams. That's about double and what a normal guy would take, probably. Proviron. Now, Proviron is a very interesting drug. Proviron actually enhances the effects of some other steroids that are in the stack. So, and it also has some anti-estrogen activity, and it also tends to be good for sex drive. I don't know with these kind of dosages if it even fucking matters. But and TUDCA, T-U-D-C-A. Now, this is a bile acid that helps the liver and the gallbladder detoxify. But that might be like pissing on a forest fire. I don't know, man. But anyway, this is a lot of shit. Supposedly, this is a cycle. I can't imagine. I mean, the only guy that would, there probably aren't too many people that would know his cycle. And I can't imagine that anybody that would know him would actually just throw it out there. But I mean, you never know. But it is pretty interesting nonetheless, and I don't think it's something anybody, you know, wants to really try. I can tell you, well, I can't tell you, but pretty insane, and you know, excuse me, Dave Palumbo seemed to think it was just nuts. So, you know, I guess we can go with that and take it for what it is.